Ciao, ragazzi. So I've been drinking and watching YouTube, and that's a dangerous combination. I was watching Alan Lichtman, who has his 13 keys to the White House, which he's run back to like 1860, 154 years. And they always work, right? And they currently indicate Biden will get reelected. But the Democrats, Obama, Schiff, I sound like Trump now. Sorry. Obama, Schiff, Testor, keep saying, Pelosi, keep saying, oh, Biden has to step down. He has to step down. He's too old. He's demented, or whatever the fuck their problem is. Sorry, there's going to be F-bombs in this because there's too much at stake right now for this crap to be going on within the Democratic Party. They're winning, right? They're going to win if the Democrats get out of their own way and let Biden win. If Biden steps down, the Democrats lose. If they nominate somebody else, deadlines have already passed in states like Ohio, who have approved Biden on the ballot. But you think they're going to approve anyone else? And let's say Biden resigns and Harris becomes president. And Harris gets to appoint a vice president. Say Buttigieg, because Buttigieg is awesome. That appointment has to be approved, confirmed, by a majority vote in both houses of Congress. The Senate, they can sneak by. They've got 50-ish votes. The House, they have 213. They need 218 to win. You think 5 Republicans are going to approve any kind of Democrat for vice president? Do you think so? If Biden stays on the ticket and the convention nominates someone else, the Democrats lose. If Biden resigns and Harris becomes president, and then the convention nominates Harris, they maintain the incumbency key from Lichtman's keys. Look it up if you don't know it. Alan Lichtman YouTube at Alan Lichtman YouTube. But there's going to be no vice president until January. There will be no vice president. And then what's going to happen is the Democrats in the freaking House are going to say, oh, well, they can't reach one. So now the succession plan has to take hold. And they will take that to the Supreme Court. And that will probably be a direct case. It'll probably be original jurisdiction at the Supreme Court. Because that's how this rolls. They're not going to be able to, they could file in district court, but they're going to take it to the Supreme Court and they're going to say, you have to have original jurisdiction because this is a constitutional issue. Because there are a few situations where the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction, which means that's where you first file your claim. The arguments between the states, that's original jurisdiction within the Supreme Court. Texas and New Mexico have been arguing about water rights on the Rio Grande River for decades. And that case has been in the Supreme Court for a really long time. That's when they have original jurisdiction. The Republicans in the House will go to the Supreme Court and ask them to declare the office vacant and that the succession plan has to take hold. And who becomes vice president if both the president and the vice president are incapacitated for whatever reason? the Speaker of the frickin' House. So Johnson would become vice president. That will be what happens if Biden resigns. Harris and Johnson will be the administration. But the vice president doesn't have any power. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You still have a vice president who is a jackass. That's it. That's it. That is it. Did I mention drinking and YouTube really aren't a good combination? So, Biden resigning isn't an answer. Biden staying on the ticket. Biden-Harris running in November. The Democrats, the independents, everyone who thinks Trump is a threat to world democracy, not just U.S. democracy. Because what's going to happen if Trump gets elected? Trump is going to form an alliance with Russia because Trump has been on Russia's payroll since the 90s when he went bankrupt. He's been laundering money for the Russians. And Trump, you want to sue me? That's fine. All this information will come out because there will be discovery. Go for it. Trump has been laundering money. The Trump organization has been laundering money for Russia for decades. Decades, since the mid-90s, because he went broke in the 90s. He was broke. If you read his book that he didn't write, because he can't write, he says in that, it is said that he says in that he pointed at a bum on Broadway or Fifth Avenue or wherever in New York. And he said, that guy is better off than me because I'm billions of dollars in debt or whatever. And the Russians bailed him out. Who owns Trump Tower? Who owns the condos in Trump Tower? The oligarchs. That's why he loves Russia so much. That's why he's opposed to Ukraine so much. That's what's going on. That is what is going on. And if you think that Russia is not the evil empire that Reagan talked about in 1982, you're a fool. I'm not pulling punches. This is too important. Too important. So I was wondering, people like me, who will not live in this country after January if Trump's elected. I will move. Where do you go? Canada? The EU? Australia? Seriously, where do you go? I don't know. I want to know because I want an escape plan. Because staying here is not going to be an option. Because, like it or not, democracy will have failed in this country. Let me see if I can pull this up really quick. Let's do that. I got to get rid of this and do that. And I've got to pull that over there and hit that and deactivate it, activate it, and then fade across. All right, cool. So this is Peter Thiel. If you don't know who Peter Thiel is a billionaire. Peter Thiel is the one who pulled V.D. Jantz out of law school. Not out of law school, once he graduated. Pulled him out, gave him a bullshit job, paying him lots of money, and then groomed him to be the Ohio senator. And then put $15 million into his campaign to make sure V.D. Jantz became vice president. Became U.S. Senate. Now he's vice presidential candidate. Now he's the vice presidential candidate. Where was he 18 months ago? Nowhere. He wasn't a politician at all. He wasn't in politics. He had just basically gotten out of law school. Well, he graduated from law school in like 15 or 16 or whatever. But he's been a never Trumper, right? a never-Trumper. He called Trump the embodiment of Adolf Hitler. Right? That's Vance. But now he's vice president. Because Trump likes to take the people he defeats and he likes to put them in positions where he has power over them because he's pissing on them like a dog. He's claiming them as property. That's where VD Jance is at. And no, I always call him VD Jance because it fits. He's a disease on the body politic. So, getting back to Thiel, Thiel was also kind of instrumental in the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. And Thiel says he no longer believes that freedom and democracy are compatible. And he wants freedom. And when he talks about freedom, he's not talking about freedom for you, whoever you are. If you're listening to this, he's not talking about freedom from you. I talk to people at work. It's like, oh, well, I think I'm rich. It's like, no, if I know you, you're not rich. If I could possibly know you, you're not rich. And you're not going to be free. He wants freedom for the billionaires to do whatever they want on the planet. And it's going to bring about the end of the world. That's it. That's really it. The survival of humanity is on the line here. Because they're going to start polluting, they're going to start strip mining, they're going to do away with all the environmental regulations, they're going to do away with all the food safety regulations, they're going to do away with education. They want to do away with the Department of Education. How do people go to college? They get student loans. Where do the student loans come from? They come through the Department of Education. That's where they come from. And once the Department of Education disappears, then it is no longer a right to go to college. It becomes a privilege. And you have to go beg for that privilege from some billionaire who's going to finance you. Because they're not going to be financing state universities anymore. They're not going to be financing high schools and school districts and any of that anymore. They don't want an educated populace. They don't want it. Read all 992 pages of Project 2025. Do it. Because it's important. It's important. So, Schiff, Obama, Testor, Pelosi, shut the fuck up. Let Biden run. Let Biden win. Let it happen. Because if you don't, Trump gets elected. And we're screwed. Peace out. Go get yourself a beer.